It's time for the Ruffin Wrestling Show. Here's your host, Michael Ruffin.
You're soft, you slop.
How's it going, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Ruffin Wrestling Show. My name is Michael Ruffin, and I am your host. Thank you guys for tuning in. Good bit to talk about tonight. First off, it is Wednesday night. I have not watched NXT for this week, so we're not going to talk about NXT for right now. If you haven't gone back, you can go back and listen to my recap on NXT TakeOver Toronto. I ended up not doing a recap for Survivor Series because it was just the show ended so late, and it was just, I had work the next morning, and honestly, given what happened at the end of Survivor Series, I probably could have gotten on and done a show, but I really just wasn't in the mood. I wasn't the happiest and craziest about how Survivor Series ended, and we're going to get into that. Tonight is just going to kind of be a general kind of what's been happening episode. There will be a TLC preview, as we have TLC coming up this Sunday live in Dallas. You will have we'll have a TLC preview, possibly a TLC recap. We'll see how the weekend goes, but we will have a TLC preview coming up as well. But like I said, tonight, this one's just going to be more of a general, hey, what's going on? And let's just kind of talk about some of the stuff that's going on. So we'll just go brand to brand and kind of talk about these things. So I guess let's just go ahead and start with the quote-unquote flagship show. Let's start with Raw. Raw, in my opinion, and this has been the opinion of a lot of people since the brand split, is kind of become the second-rate show. If you watch Raw and you watch SmackDown, SmackDown tends to be better. Raw has its great things going for it. It has the cruiserweights. It's got, in my opinion, the right talent and the right stories happening. But to me, just SmackDown is just the better product. If you really had to look at it as two separate brands that are under the WWE umbrella, you've got Raw, you got SmackDown, and then you have NXT. So if you really look at it like that, if you look at it as WWE is a company which has many different things under its umbrella, and these brands, you really can look at it like that. And really the only time they cross over is when we do a big four, or if they just do some type of crossover story where somebody shows up on the other show and does something. Which those are exciting things to do. You can always do stuff like that. But with Raw, the only things that I've found to be that interesting on Raw right now has been the Seth Rollins, Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens saga. This has been the highlight of Raw. It's been the best part of Raw. And now they're just kind of trying to do some other stuff with it. If you watched this week, you saw that Seth Rollins kind of surprised Chris Jericho, and they had their whole backstage brawl where he gave Jericho a pedigree on top of a limousine. Very reminiscent of the Attitude Era, to have a really good, long, extended backstage brawl. Normally you see somebody's getting interviewed, somebody walks up, hits them a couple times, kicks them while they're down, and then walks off, and the camera zooms into them lying there, and you cut to commercial, and that's just pretty much how WWE does anything out of the ring, backstage brawl style. So this was very reminiscent of like 90s WWE, with a extended segment between two top stars happening in the back, where it wasn't just a surprise attack. As it started, it's as that, but it developed into something else. Obviously we've seen that they are possibly going to go ahead and start the ball rolling on the breakup of Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. While I have loved everything that these guys have been doing together, I'm excited to see them break off and do something different. Hopefully this won't mean the end of the list of Jericho. I don't know if there's a way to break off him and Owens, and not turn one of them, preferably Jericho, turn them face. I think they could break them off and keep them both as bad guys. They just don't have anything to do with each other. Maybe they just kind of take a break from each other. Don't completely dissolve, but just kind of step off from each other for a while. Kevin Owens has his hands full with, I believe now it's going to be Roman Reigns, as we will see probably leading up till Roadblock, the program between Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, kind of champion versus champion, which I have to say that I kind of hope it ends blowing up in Roman Reigns' face, in that we do a champion versus champion type deal and Roman actually loses his United States Championship, and then we get Kevin Owens with both belts. I know this won't happen, because them putting the U.S. Championship on Roman was a way of giving him a title that wasn't the title. You know, when I mean the title, I mean before the brand split, we had the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Now we have the World and then the Universal Championship. So this is a way of them putting a belt on him that is not the major belt of the show, because with the way that fans just boo him like crazy, this, you know, it was obviously a bad move to put the big major belt on him. So they put one of the minor ones on him. That way, you know, hey, you still made him a champion. He's got to run as, you know, with the U.S. title, which is not a bad thing. I would gladly, if I were a WWE superstar and they came to me and said, hey, we want to make you the U.S. champion, I wouldn't go, nah, I don't want that. You know, I would take that and be grateful for it. So I'm sure that Roman feels great being the U.S. champion. But I would really like to see them possibly, leading up to Roadblock, add in a stipulation that it's champion versus champion. That someone's going to walk out with both titles. Either Roman or Kevin Owens. And then they book it to where it blows up in Roman's face and Kevin Owens walks out with both championships. I think that would be really great entertainment. I think it'd be really great for TV and really great for the Raw brand. So I would love to see that happen. Will it? Probably not, but you know, still would love to see it. So let's move on now and let's talk about Chris Jericho and Seth Rollins, who are obviously going to go into a thing here, which again leads me to think that they will break Jericho and Owens, but they won't turn them. Or turn Jericho face. They'll keep him heel. They'll keep the list of Jericho going, because the list of Jericho is just the most incredible thing happening on Raw right now. And they need to keep that rolling. So the fact that you put him into a program with Seth Rollins, who they are running as a face, makes it work out. If you buy into the whole traditional face versus heel mentality. I'm looking forward to the Jericho-Rollins feud. I think it's going to be great. Jericho can still deliver great, 4.5, and almost 5-star matches when he wants to. And against Rollins, Rollins is going to be able to push that up to them being possible show stealers. That they could possibly steal Roadblock, which is where I think we would see obviously their first major match. They might do some things here and there because we still have a few weeks. They may do some things here and there between now and Roadblock, but I think their first major match meeting starting now with this program will be at Roadblock, which is right. That's the right thing to do. So I'm okay with that. Well, let's move on and talk about something else that's been happening on Raw, and let's talk about let's just go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about Brock and Goldberg. Unless you've been living under a rock or you're not a wrestling fan and you've somehow accidentally found this show, well, welcome. But I don't know if I'll be talking about anything that you really want to know about here. But unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Goldberg squashed Brock in under 2 minutes at Survivor Series. Now, they did a segment with Paul Heyman this week on Raw where, in a very convincing and very well done segment, Paul he was a little misty-eyed. He cried a little, saying how, that first spear cracked Brock's ribs, and once your ribs are cracked, you can't breathe, can't stand, you can't fight. So it was over when that happened. So I had a feeling that's what they would go with, is they would say Brock was hurt, even when he's not, and that's what they would go with, because that makes Brock, while Brock got beat, at least they can say, oh, well, they got his ribs broken. So, that's not the same as him just getting beat. He got hurt. So he couldn't compete. So it's a loss, but there's an asterisk to it. You know what I mean? So that's, I think that's what, that's what they're going with there, and that's fine. That works. It works great, really. I quite frankly, they've already announced that Goldberg and Brock are both going to be in the Royal Rumble match, and I think that's fine. I guess there's 28 other spots unless they decide to go with the big man Rumble and do 40. I don't know what they'll do. Obviously, they're testing the waters on a lot of crazy stuff to happen at Royal Rumble this year, so we'll have to see what they do. There's rumor that it could be a 35 or a 40-man Rumble. So, I don't know. 28 other spots when you take out Goldberg and Brock, or you put those in, they take up 2. You got 28 other spots for other superstars to take on, for guest spots to take on. So, for me, for me, the purpose, obviously, is going to... Brock or Goldberg are not going to win the Rumble. They're not going to go on and take the title at WrestleMania. This is going to be a chance the two of them will get back in the ring. They'll beat the hell out of each other. They'll probably eliminate each other. Or somebody will try to eliminate the other and will go out with, and they'll take them out with them. So they'll both hit on the ground, and they'll both just keep fighting on the ground, and we'll get a rematch at Mania. And that will be, I think, the final match from this series, and probably Goldberg's final match, as I predict that he will be the front runner or the kickoff induction for the Hall of Fame this year. And that's fine. That's usually what they do with the game. When you are the feature DLC on a game, or the feature pre-order on a game, normally it means you got a comeback coming in you, or you're going to go Hall of Fame, or both, which was the case with Sting. Sting came back, or when you actually go back to Warrior. Warrior was the DLC and on the game in 2000, was it 15, 14? No, he was 14, and he got a Hall of Fame induction. Then it was the next year. It was Sting. Sting got a Hall of Fame induction and a comeback. And then this year it's Goldberg. Goldberg's already had a comeback, so now we just either get the Hall of Fame or possibly just gets a Mania. Maybe he goes in a few years later from now. I think if he's going to do Mania, if he's going to work Mania with Brock, he's already going to be in Orlando. Go ahead and put him in. Go ahead and just knock it out. But that's not really important. So, but for me, I think this, them being in the Rumble just keeps them apart, keeps them off TV for a while. Then they'll come in and they'll beat the hell out of each other at Rumble. Then they'll beat the hell out of each other at Mania. And then they'll just collect their big paydays and they'll go home. And that will just be the end of that. They'll just fizzle out and we'll move on. And hopefully by the time we have Finn Balor back, and we can kind of focus on that. I'm a huge Finn Balor fan, so I kind of just hope he comes back and regains the title he never lost. But that's, my opinion on the Brock thing. I think everybody thought Brock was going to destroy Goldberg, and that was just going to be the end of it. We maybe never see Goldberg again. But obviously they've gotten Goldberg to agree to a multi-match thing, and we're going to see what happens there. So, that's fine. Whatever's entertaining, that's fine. If people are going to pay to see that, then, do that. That's fine. I'm not one of these fans that's just going to grumble about it and not, and not watch or whatever. So it's fine. If you want to do that, that's fine. Let's move on to something else happening on Raw real quick. I love what they're doing with Cesaro and Sheamus. I loved the whole barroom brawl thing this weekend, or this past Monday on Raw, sorry. I loved that. I thought that was great. They're really starting to show that they're trying to come together as a team. They're trying to work together. And hopefully, maybe they'll figure it out. Who knows? Obviously, New Day is going to run until at least they beat Demolition's record. At least I would hope so. I really hope they wouldn't take it off them now when they're so close to it. So I think they're going to run with it up until, they beat the record, and then we'll talk about it. Kind of like with Nikki Bella when she was chasing AJ Lee's record, and she broke it, and then we took it off of her. Which I think that a lot of that was to get AJ Lee out of the record book since she had left WWE. So, and she married CM Punk. So, that whole thing had to happen. But I love what they're doing with Cesaro and Sheamus. I really hope they keep that going, and I hope they keep working together. That's just highly entertaining to watch. Last thing, this is kind of a kind of a segue into the next thing I want to talk about, which are the cruiserweights. We had a match, I think we did have 2 cruiserweight matches this week on Raw, I believe, didn't we? Or we just had one. We had Rich Swann versus Noam Dar, number 1 contendership match, leading up to that they would get their title shot at 205 Live, the first 205 Live, which Rich Swann won. And moved on to face Brian Kendrick at 205 Live. If you've not watched 205 Live yet, stop listening, because I am going to talk about 205 Live now. I loved 205 Live. I don't know if this means that 205 Live will now just be the cruiserweight thing, and that we won't see the cruiserweights on Raw or SmackDown anymore. I think that's fine. I think they were adding a lot to Raw. Raw will take a little bit of a loss here. Obviously, nothing gained or lost for SmackDown. But unless, somebody like Kalisto, goes over to 205 Live, which, if that's the case, it's fine, because 205 Live happens after SmackDown. But if I were WWE, I would move that. I would move it before SmackDown. But I guess because you could tell when you were watching 205 Live, you could see that there was not a lot of people in the crowd. A lot of holes in the crowd. A lot of people had left because SmackDown was over. They saw Dean Ambrose. They saw AJ Styles. They saw, who they came to see, and there was nothing left for them to watch. So they left. And then you got a great 205 Live. Some of the favorites on 205 Live. Personally, I really don't care for TJ Perkins. I think the guy's kind of a douche. And, the whole dab thing it just gets on my nerves. I think the guy's kind of douchey, and I kind of hope he just, kind of fizzles away, personally. I love Jack Gallagher, I want to call him Gallagher, but it's apparently Gallagher or Gallagher. Like that H apparently is very important. Very cool. I like that guy. I liked him in the CWC, and I'm really glad to see him showing up on 205 Live. Talk about that main event real quick. We had Rich Swann versus the Brian Kendrick for the Cruiserweight Championship in a fantastic match. And they did what I think a lot of people didn't think they would do. They actually changed the title. Rich Swann takes the title from Brian Kendrick and becomes the new WWE Cruiserweight Champion. And then he cut a really great promo, a very emotional promo, saying that he dedicated it to his mom, who wasn't there because she's passed on, but she's looking down and she's with us in spirit. A great little promo from him. But every time I see him, I just can't help but think, if anything were to ever happen to any of the guys in the New Day, that Rich Swann would need to join the New Day. Or if they ever wanted to make it a 4-man thing, Rich Swann should join the New Day. I think he would be great. I love Rich Swann. I honestly love Brian Kendrick too, so I'm hoping this is not the last time we will see these guys wrestle. I kind of hope that this will be a very long, extended feud between these guys, but you've got a lot of new guys that a lot of people haven't heard of, which, if you don't believe me on that, watch 205 Live and see guys like the Bollywood boys. When they came out, and they came out to crickets, like, you could hear people coughing, like no one knew who they were, outside of people that maybe they watched NXT and saw, or they watched the Cruiserweight Classic. So hopefully we're going to see guys like, eventually, even if it's just pop-in things, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Austin Aries on commentary, because he's still nursing the orbital fracture that he got from Shinsuke Nakamura. But I think when he's healthy, we maybe put him on CWC. I loved having him on commentary because Austin Aries, while I don't really care for him as much as a wrestler, and I think honestly it's because the gimmick is working and he's so good at that character of that being that kind of smug, douchey son of a bitch, and I just don't really, and I just hate him. Like, I love to hate him. Like, I hate him so much, but I love him for it. So it's working. So, I loved having him on commentary because he brought that to the commentary table. That kind of arrogant, smug, these guys are good, but they're not Austin Aries. They're not the greatest man who ever lived. And then when I'm ready to come back, when they clear me, I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to take that title. That guy, So I'm excited to see if they ever do that with Austin Aries, or if they send him right back to NXT. Who knows what they're going to do. I'm excited to see what happens there. But it was a great episode. I'm excited about the Cruiserweights. 205 Live felt like the Cruiserweight Classic on a much bigger scale. Now, what made the Cruiserweight Classic so special was that it happened at Full Sail. And it happened in that tiny 300 to 400 person arena. where they tape NXT, and so it made it that intimate thing. So now they've moved it to the Smackdown size arenas, and it kind of got swallowed up in the sides. It was still great, but it was missing something. It was missing that intimacy. It was missing that heart that they had in the CWC. So I'm kind of hoping that they maybe figure out how to make that work. And maybe it'll just catch on. It was the first episode, so who knows what's going to happen. It could catch on. It could become a huge thing, and I just end up looking like a fool. So who knows? Let's talk about SmackDown real quick. We have TLC coming up this week. I'm absolutely loving the Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss stuff. I think that's great. I think they're going to have a great match. And unfortunately for my girl Becky, I think Alexa's going to take that title from her in Dallas. That's my call on it. We'll talk more about that at the TLC preview show. But let's keep moving through SmackDown. A lot of promo, a lot of in-ring chatter segments this week, especially that long one, the Ambrose Asylum with James Ellsworth, who, frankly, I'm just tired of seeing. The gimmick is over. You've overstayed. You're welcome. Please pack your bags and leave. It's just go away. I'm tired of seeing that guy every single week. But we have the Ambrose Asylum thing with Dean and AJ and James Ellsworth. That Styles Clash off of the stairs was absolutely brutal, and maybe that's the way they'll get James Ellsworth off the TV for a while, or he's going to interfere in Dallas and give Dean back his championship. I am looking forward to the TLC match between Dean and AJ. Hopefully Dean delivers on a hardcore match. They always put him in them, and something always happens. WrestleMania, it was Brock. Brock didn't want to do a hardcore match, but he did it anyway, and so Dean didn't really get to spread his wings and fly. So we're kind of hoping now that with this match, they'll let Dean and AJ really just kind of go at each other, and it be, a great TLC match. You look back at TLC matches, and it's hard to not bring up, Edge and Christians and the Hardys, the Dudleys, these guys. I think with AJ and Dean, if you really let these guys go, they really could deliver on that. Now, I know they couldn't go as hard as some of these guys used to go, because now they have so much things to protect. They have brands, they have their name, their marketing to protect. They can't take big, long injury breaks because, they took a crazy bump and got hurt. So they can't put that at risk anymore. So, that's why you see that softer style of wrestling in WWE now, which is, it's fine. That's why it's not as good, because they aren't going like they used to, and it is what it is. But I'm excited about it. I'm excited about their TLC match. Hopefully James Ellsworth's just gone for a little while. I don't know. I get it. It was funny when he first showed up, but now it's bugging me. Main event, we had the Wyatts, a.k.a. Bray and Randy, versus American Alpha for the number one contendership to face Beauty and the Man Beast at TLC, which is where I believe they will drop the titles, because Rhino has to go and get sworn into the Michigan House of Representative, state representative. So I think Bray Wyatt fans are finally going to get their wish. They're going to get to see Bray with a title. It's going to be a SmackDown tag title, but they're going to get to see him with a title, and maybe we'll get to see some stuff with Randy. I kind of personally wanted it to be American Alpha, because I'm super high on Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, but what do I know? So, last like 5 minutes here. I don't like to think that I complain too much. I don't like to be that wrestling fan that just grumble, attitude era, grumble. PG kills wrestling, grumble. I don't like to be that guy. I like to keep an open mind. I like to stay kind of open to what WWE wants to do, and just kind of go with the flow. But there's something happening now that, quite frankly, I am so sick of seeing. And that is... And it hurts me to even think this, let alone say it. I am so sick of seeing Sasha Banks and Charlotte not just trading the title every 3 weeks, but for once I just want to see them wrestle somebody else. Just once. I want to see them go into a feud with anybody else. You have Nia Jax, you have Bayley, you have Alicia Fox, for fuck's sake. A friend of mine pointed out that since the brand split, the women took the biggest hit. And you know what? You're right, Wilpo. You are right. When it comes to that. When it comes to the women, the brand split killed the women's brands. Because there were not a lot of women on the roster. They were kind of and I mean this I don't even know if this is the right word, so don't send me hate comments and hate mail, ladies. They were one of the minority divisions. Because when you look at how many male superstars there are versus the ratio of women, it's not equal. And that's a shame. But it's true. It's always been that case, and it will always be that case, unless, of course, you're in like a women's only promotion like Shimmer. So you only had like 15 women that were draft eligible to begin with, which is why I said in the draft, tag teams go to one, women go to the other. That was how it should have been done. You keep them all together and you put them on one brand. You want to watch the women, you watch Smackdown. You want to watch tag teams, you watch Raw. They did it with cruiserweights. If you want to watch the cruiserweights, you watched Raw. But then they did the whole thing where, the cruiserweights might go to SmackDown. Oh, never mind, we're just going to make their own show. They're going to be 205 Live, which is where they are now. So, in my opinion, you should have kept the women on one, the tag teams on one. Like I said, women on SmackDown, tag teams on Raw, or vice versa. However you want to do it. Keep them together. Instead of having a roster of 7 or 8, you now have a roster of 16 to 18, however many women there are on your roster. I can name more women on the SmackDown roster than I can on the Raw. And honestly, because I think the entire Raw women's division was on their Survivor Series team. Nia Jax, Bayley, Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Alicia Fox, and then Dana Brooke. I honestly think there's only 6 women on the Raw women's roster. SmackDown doesn't have very many more, but they've got Carmella, Nikki Bella, which there is no bigger name in WWE women's wrestling right now than Nikki Bella. Doesn't matter. Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Bayley. They are not the name that Nikki Bella is. She's got the Cena brand to her, man. She's been branded. She's under the Cena umbrella. She's gonna be that level. You don't like it, you ain't gotta like it, but it's true. So you've got Natalya, Carmella, Nikki Bella, Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss. You've got Naomi. You've got I think it's even 6-6. That's sad. That is absolutely detrimentally sad. That's depressing. There were only 12 women on the main roster. I mean, unless I'm missing somebody. I'm not going to look it up right now. Am I missing somebody? Am I missing like 5 or 6 women that I'm just not thinking about? I know we have Emma. She's coming back. Paige, God knows what the fuck they're going to do there. Who knows what she's doing? She's so far off the deep end, I don't know what to do anymore. But, seriously, 12? That was it? 12 women? You couldn't keep them on one roster? Imagine the possibilities right now. If you had kept them on one roster. You could be doing anything. You could be mixing it, matching it up every night if you kept the women on one roster. So now we have two. And we fought ourselves into a corner. Because now, on Raw, we think the only thing we want to see is Charlotte and Sasha Banks for the 99,467th time. You know, that's extremely frustrating. Every time Mick Foley comes out there and announces that they're going to do Sasha versus Charlotte, I don't care what the stipulations are. I don't care that it's false count anywhere. I don't care that it's no DQ. I don't care that it's Hell in a Cell. Actually, that's not true. I actually was excited about their Hell in a Cell, and I enjoyed their Hell in a Cell. But honestly, after Hell in a Cell's when it killed it. You destroyed it, you killed it dead in the center of the ring. Because here's what I think about the Raw Women's Championship. That only two people on your roster could ever fucking hold it. It's like Vince can't make up his mind in the back on who he wants to hold the championship. I swear to God, I think he just flips a coin. I think he just flips a coin every 3 weeks. Oh, well, it's been a month, so let's flip a coin. Heads, Charlotte retains, or Charlotte wins, and tails, Sasha wins, and whoever's the champion, well, then we'll just do a title change then if we have to, but I don't know, well, Charlotte's gonna win. Oh, Sasha's got the title, well, we're gonna do a title change then. That's terrible, Vince, but, my Vince has never been good. He's not as good as my Dusty. My Dusty Rhodes is fantastic. It's fabulous. But, I honestly think that Vince just sits in the back and just many mows between Charlotte and Sasha. Who the fuck's gonna go over tonight? Oh, well, we're in Portland. Many money. Oh, Charlotte's gonna win. Or, next week we're in Buffalo. Many money. Or Sasha. Honestly, that's exactly how I think he handles the situation. Meanwhile, the other ladies just sit in the back and do backstage segments, like Bayley. How many times have we seen Bayley be the, hey there, champ, you keep your head up, because I believe in you. She is more than that. You know what Bayley that is? That's Bayley from, 3 years ago, when her whole deal was that she was the little fangirl that wasn't really a wrestler. No one ever thought she would admit to jack crap. This is before Brooklyn. This is long before Brooklyn. This is way before Brooklyn. Bayley's fighting like no-name girls and she's losing to them. This is before that all craziness happened. This is before Bayley became the sweetheart of NXT, the princess of Full Sail University. And now they have reverted right back to those days. Her job now is to go up to Sasha and say, I believe in you because you're the boss. That's what I think of that. That's what I think of that. You could put Bayley and Alicia Fox you could put Bayley versus Dana Brooke on. I know they did it, and it was what it was. But quite frankly, I'm so tired of seeing Charlotte and Sasha exchange this fucking title back and forth. I'm so tired of it. I'm so sick of it. I couldn't even enjoy the match on Raw. Because the whole time I sat there going, well, I'm pretty sure Sasha's going to walk out with the championship because, it's been a month, so it's time to switch over. Oh, wait, we're in Charlotte? We're in the Carolinas? Oh, yeah, Sasha's definitely winning because Vince loves to make you lose in your hometown. And so I'm sitting here going, oh, I wonder how this is going to end. I just wasn't excited about it at all. And maybe I'm the only asshole sitting here thinking this. Maybe I am. But I'm so tired of seeing Sasha and Charlotte just trade this title back and forth. This title, to me right now, means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. And that's heartbreaking. We went from Dallas in April, quote unquote, 100,000 plus. And they bumped it from Monday Night Raw to Wrestle fucking Mania. The grandest stage of them all, the show of shows. To reveal we were getting rid of that bullshit butterfly belt. Because you aren't divas anymore, you are women superstars, and we have a new belt. It looks just like the men's, it's just a different color. Same size and everything. Looks just like the guys. It's just white and red instead of, at the time, black and gold. Now, red and gold. And right now, it has as much value as the plastic toy belt that you get at Toys R Us. Because in the division on Raw, they only have faith in that two women can hold it. I just hope now that they've each traded it. This is Sasha's third reign. So this is the third time that Sasha has beat Charlotte for that title since they debuted that belt in April. So in 9 months, she's won her title 3 times back and forth. And Charlotte and Sasha are the only two people that have held it. So there have been 6 title changes. Let's see, at least 5. 5 to 6 title changes. And they've all happened between the same 2 people. Back and forth for 9 months. And it was fun when it started. Now, it's just lazy. And it's just frustrating. My advice, if it means anything, keep the belt on Sasha and put together maybe a Charlotte and Bayley. Maybe you put Bayley and Nia Jax. She beat her in NXT. Maybe Dana Brooke. Alicia Fox. Go back to some squash matches. Bring in some developmental. Do some guest spots from NXT. Peyton Royce. Liv Morgan. Liv Tyler is Steven Tyler's daughter. Liv Morgan. Ember Moon. Got a ton of talent. Find spots for them. Do something. Be innovative. Don't give us the same old crap every week. Anyway, that's my opinion on the matter. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully the last 10 minutes of the show here didn't get too dull, boring. It's just frustrating. It angers me. And it's insulting. That's the word. It's insulting. Anyway, that is my show, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you have not subscribed, Ruffin Wrestling Show, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube. It's all there. Subscribe. Show finds you. Easiest way to keep up. Tune in later this week. Going to do a TLC preview show. TLC this Sunday from Dallas. We'll see about doing a recap. Just depends on what my schedule looks like on Monday and how late the show goes on Sunday night. We'll see what happens. But thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time. See ya.